Game Design and Game Views podcast. David, do you want to start us off with something or introduce our guest for this week?
I was gonna say we should start off with introducing our guest, or he can introduce himself.
Hello, my name is Stormy, and I like video games.
You're in the right
Oh,
place then,
that's a
my friend.
plus because if you didn't make video games, I'd wonder what the heck you're doing here.
Hey,
Yeah, I'm here to talk to you all about my new coffee brand. No, I'm kidding.
his new
Oh
brand
my.
of coffee.
All
Is
right.
it as strong as the Force?
It's as strong as the Force itself.
Wow. The light side or the dark side? So is it a light roast or a dark roast?
I mean, you could
Or
choose.
both?
That's the beauty of it.
Ah, nice, nice, nice.
Oh, so you get to travel the world between the light and the dark.
Yes.
So you could
There
Sounds
choose,
always has to
a
be a
lot
balance.
like
like Knights of the Old
sounds a
Republic.
lot like some of the game we'll be talking about today.
Knights of the Old Republic.
Ooh, there's a classic.
Very much one of my favorite Star Wars games of all time.
Ooh, do tell. Other than the obvious that it's a legendary game, do tell what you think of it.
I think it's fun.
So descriptive. So descriptive for
I,
our
uh,
captive audience.
I hope we're not holding anybody captive today.
You mean like the terrible Empire does?
Hey, the Empire's not terrible, they're just misunderstood. Anyways, the Empire doesn't even exist in KOTOR. So, ha!
Where does KOTOR takes place? I need
It,
to play this game.
it's the Old Republic, so it's for the Empire. It's way before the prequel movies. It's like hundreds and
Oh.
hundreds of years in the past. But yeah, those are both really fun games, especially, for me, since I like the RPG style. They are more of an RPG game.
3956 BBY.
BBY?
Before the Battle of Yavin. Duh.
BBY.
I don't know what BBY is.
Yeah. See,
Before the Battle of Yavin.
wouldn't that be BBOY? No, because then that's
They
B-boy.
shorten it.
And yeah, B-boy is a whole nother thing.
Okay.
I was gonna say, do y'all think Star Wars worked better as an action RPG, or as a hack and slash in Force Unleashed?
I mean, we did have Star Wars Galaxies, so
That's an
RPG,
MMO.
MMORPG.
I think there's definitely a place for both because there's so many different Star Wars games. Some of them play good, like the KOTOR series and the Galaxies and what's the current version of it? Just Star Wars: The Old Republic is that current
Yeah,
MMO. Definitely, I have a love for them because I love RPGs myself, but I also do love the hack and slash of the Force Unleashed games. I love the space dogfights of the Rogue Squadron games. I love what was the other one? The shooter type of the
Battlefront.
Battlefront. Thank you. And the Republic Commandos games, like that's basically a shooter game. That's the thing about Star Wars. Like, there's so much over-encompassing stuff in Star Wars alone that you can make a great game in almost any genre if you do it right. Anyway, because there's been some not so good Star Wars games that have been released in the past too.
I mean, they also have that niche market of racing games with the Pod Racer game from '99, as well as Racer Revenge, which I feel like they should make a follow-up game at some point.
That'd be pretty cool.
Like,
Oh
I know
man,
some people have advocated for it, like a kart game for Star Wars, so like a swoop like racing game or something.
That'd be
swoop
interesting.
bikes. That's
I
like
haven't played any of the Star Wars Racer games, but it looks really cool, especially for the time.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I would say for the time they were decent. Obviously, by today's standards, they're kind of laughable, but
I mean, you look at gameplay of at least the original Pod Racer game to date, and a lot of it, comparatively speaking, still holds up. Like, yeah, the animations are a little janky, but
yeah,
overall,
yeah.
gameplay still holds up pretty well.
Well, I mean, gameplay for racing games has not changed that much in the last 20 years.
Yeah, it's always accelerate and brake.
It's accelerate, brake,
True.
turn. They're making a
Use your
left
Well,
turn.
booster.
Use the
yeah.
boost. Some include jumps or whatever. Some don't. But
And
overall,
then,
and
like with Pod Racer, another trick you had to figure out was how to navigate the jumps with your acceleration and braking.
yeah, like that's all like the fine details of individual racing games. But overall, racing games have not drastically that much changed over the years. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's racing. That's like, how are you going to change racing? Racing is racing.
This just made me think of something. So you
Some
mentioned that
people add combat. Anyway, go ahead. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
No worries. I was gonna say we mentioned that Pod Racer hasn't aged as well. Which Star Wars games do you think aged very well? Like older Star Wars games. Which ones do you think aged really well? And which do you think maybe didn't age so well?
Well, you could look at that from a few different perspectives. Graphic-wise, none of them have aged gracefully, or as well as they could have. But as far as game mechanics goes, they've all pretty much aged pretty decently.
Yeah, there's been some pretty good ones. Like, unless you're talking about like the really, really old, before most of us were alive, arcade games and stuff. Some of those aren't that great, but
Yeah.
that was due to the limited technology of their time.
Yeah, I think I mentioned Force Unleashed because that's the Star Wars game I grew up with the most, and
I love that game. I'll still play it to this day.
Yeah.
Oh,
Even graphically, it's not horrible.
shout out to
Yeah.
Sam Whitware. Sam, you're awesome. Keep up the good work. Our very own Star Killer.
yeah, Star Killer, fantastic protagonist. I think
Yeah.
he's cool. I actually played the game recently, like a couple years ago, and like it controls the gameplay. It's still like it's so like for a hack and slash, it's so fluid and so fun.
Yeah,
and
like
the force abilities.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I really even consider it a hack and slash. I mean, I guess technically it is, but like it's not like the repetitive doing the same thing over and over and over again hack and
Yeah,
slash
yeah.
like Diablo. Like great series of games. I love the Diablo games, but like they get boring really fast.
I mentioned hack and slash because I went from Devil May Cry to Force Unleashed.
Oh my
That's
god,
why.
yeah. Yeah, the two
And-
games are similar in terms of combat.
Yeah, but I think the force abilities on Unleashed add a lot to differentiate it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so back in the day when those games first came out, at least with the original Force Unleashed, there was a difference between what platform you got it on. And I originally had it for the PS2, and there it played very similarly, but visually it was so different in terms of the force abilities. And honestly, both that and I guess it was the 360 version, both of them were equally spectacular, but very different. I don't know if either of you ever noticed that.
I don't think I ever played the PlayStation version, so I cannot say I did. I always had the Xbox version myself.
Like, if you guys both get the chance, look up both versions. Like, they're really interesting.
You look up both versions.
I've played both versions.
The burden of proof is on you to bring the evidence, not for other people to go find it yourselves.
I'm actually curious. I'm looking it up right now.
Oh, I gotta you just throw me under the bus again. Jeez, everyone. I'm totally just kidding, man.
I found a thread on Reddit that says like a lot of people think the PS2 version is better.
Possibly.
Honestly, it's a toss-up for me. Like, I enjoyed it on both.
Yeah, it was
Not
like
game. Okay, also, you're talking hack and slash. I'm going to bring up another hack and slash game. That the camera angles on this game were terrible, but the hack and slash was brilliant. Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, the game.
Yes, that was a fun game. I remember.
That was hack and slash all the way.
Yes, it was. But it was very much fun.
I need to look.
I remember back in the day, even Nick Gillard, the stunt choreographer for the movies, was impressed by it.
Wow, we impressed somebody. Or they impressed somebody. We didn't. All right. You twisted my arm enough. I'm installing the Force Unleashed right now.
No joke, you can actually get and download a lot of the Star Wars games from the OG Xbox.
Yes, I
Oh,
have
yeah.
quite a few of them.
Yeah, even the Revenge of the Sith.
And you can even download the Pod Racer game.
I also
Oh,
own
yeah,
that.
hold on.
Let's see, we want to look at.
And what's funny about that, it wasn't even built for the Xbox. And yet you can still get it for the Xbox.
That's crazy.
It'll set you back a cool $15 USD, but yeah. There's so many games during that time period. From like the late 90s through like 2011, 2012.
Yeah, I'm a big fan
That
of the OG Xbox and Xbox 360 era of the Star Wars games. They were some of the better ones. I like the newer ones
heck
too.
yeah.
Like the new Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor are both fun, but I don't know, they're different.
you could feel there's something different, and even with like the new Battlefront games too, the modern
Yes.
ones.
Yes, I
Uh,
brought this up last week. I am not really a fan of the new Battlefront games as I am of the old ones that came out on the Xbox, original Xbox. They were so much
Honestly,
better.
I've been playing a lot of Star Wars Battlefront 2, and I think that one I've been having a little bit of fun with. But whenever I look back at the old ones, like I wish I played them because they look really just fun, just chaotic. It's just really cool.
Yeah, I'm
I
not
mean,
saying the
I
new ones
loved
aren't fun. It's just for me the old ones were more fun. And part of that could be just
the
the
old ones hold
nostalgia
more
of it.
nostalgia.
Yeah, like it could definitely
Yeah.
be the nostalgia factor for me because like even though I own the old ones also and the new ones, yeah, I prefer the older ones. But yeah, I'll admit I haven't played either of them in a while.
Like the
Yeah.
original Battlefront games, I still remember going into a Best Buy with my family when I was a kid, and I'd go play the game demos that they used to have. Yeah, I'm dating myself with that reference. But
Look at you, you were
when the
rich
Battlefront games came out,
going to Best Buy
I
for the
just go play
demos.
the Battlefront demos.
Recently I've been getting a lot of like YouTube shorts in my recommended for the OG Star Wars Battlefronts. It was really
Oh my
cool to
god.
see that this game is still being played. It's really
Oh
cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they added a lot of details like you wouldn't expect them to add for these games. Like apparently the droids, if you fall in water on the droid side, you'll die. Stuff like that,
Oh
like
yeah.
little stuff. And I think the little details go a long way in these older.
Yeah, like graphically they might not be the best, especially compared to today's modern stuff, but like some of the, like you said, the fine details of stuff like that that they would put into them was like awesome.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Especially the dismemberment in these games too.
Yes.
Some of the dismemberment, sure, not all of it. Like, I don't remember a lot of them having dismemberment, so.
No, but
I
like,
know the Force Unleashed games did, and I think one other game had
yeah, there's definitely
dismemberment.
more dismemberment in the games where you get to wield a lightsaber because that just makes more sense. But yeah, not all games with
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
lightsabers. Like I don't think any of the old Knights of the Old Republic games had the dismemberment in them.
I
No.
don't think.
But that was
What
also
about that old Jedi Knight games?
Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, and what was the other one?
Jedi
Outcast.
Outcast?
Jedi Outcast. Yeah, that's right. I have
I
Jedi
don't remember
Academy,
there
but
being
I
any
don't have
dismemberment.
Outcast. Those were original Xbox era, and when they moved into the 360
Yeah.
era with the Force Unleashed and stuff, is when they started being able to add the dismemberment stuff. But that was just again
Yeah.
the
That
technology
sounds
jump
right.
at the time. They were able to get more focused with, the game developers were able to add, hey, targeting limbs, like, and like Star Wars wasn't the only, like I remember one of the first times I started playing a shooter and you could like target the legs and shoot the guy in the leg with a shotgun and his leg would fly off. I'm like, that was so cool. Like nowadays that's almost kind of standard on certain games that have the
Yeah.
gore in them anyway, but like I remember when that stuff
Well,
first
Star
came
Wars
around.
game, the best Star Wars game that has the best dismemberment are the Lego Star Wars games. Because
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Not wrong.
True.
Not wrong.
True,
those
true.
games were so weirdly violent with how characters die. So cool though.
You're not wrong. Like, you want to talk violence? Yeah, there was no blood and gore, but those games were brutal.
All the
Yeah,
Lego
like
games. It's not just Star Wars, like the Lego Batman games and
yeah,
everything. Like,
you'll be
Yeah.
punching someone and then they'll just fly into a thousand pieces. Like, oh my gosh,
yeah,
Yep.
it's like, but as long as it doesn't have the blood, it's all good.
it's all good.
It's all good.
What's your
Cartoon
favorite Lego?
violence.
Cartoon violence
Which
is
is your
okay.
favorite Lego Star Wars?
That's a tough one. I haven't. I'll be honest.
Sorry,
I
no
haven't played
answer.
too many of the Lego Star Wars ones. I don't think I actually own any Lego games myself. Tim's gonna get mad at me.
Back in the day, I had a friend who was equally into Star Wars as I was at that time. And we would play the heck out of, the original trilogy one. I forget if that
Oh,
was one or two.
I think that's two. Yeah, that's two.
And that was so much fun.
Yeah, I think I played Lego Star Wars 2 on my DS when I was a kid, and that was my favorite growing up. My favorite thing to do was to create your own Star Wars characters with existing pieces and whatnot. That was really fun. But now that I'm like older, I think the best one looking back was definitely, or my favorite, sorry, my personal favorite favorite was Lego Star Wars 3, the Clone War one. That one
Nice.
just had like such fun environments and gameplay. And I don't remember, but I remember looking somewhere that like apparently it had like RTS mechanics in some parts of the game. I didn't know that. I don't quite remember. So yeah.
Yeah, I still have yet to play the Skywalker Saga game that came out a few years ago, but I hear that one is also really good.
Yeah, the gameplay looks so cool. Like I've never seen a Lego game look like that. Like it just looks really cool. I want to give that one a shot in the near future.
Yeah, like I have nothing against the Lego Star Wars games. I've played them before, and I've always thought they were fun. I just don't currently own any myself right now. I know I used to back on
Yeah,
the 360 or something, or maybe even Xbox One, but I just don't own the physical copies anymore. And for financial reasons, there's so many games out there that I wish I owned that I don't. So
Yeah,
I feel you.
I was looking at the Xbox store the other day, only at Star Wars games. Just like $85 worth of Star Wars games on there I'd love to get.
Yeah, I think if I had to get one though, it'd have to be probably the Old Republic because everyone says that game is so good. I haven't played it.
The Old Republic or Knights of the Old Republic?
Oh, sorry, Knights of the Old Republic.
yeah, I figured
Yeah, I was
that's
gonna say, there is a
what he meant.
difference.
I
I didn't know
figured
there was
that's
another one.
Yeah, the Old Republic is
Yeah.
a MMO game it's a current game, so it's not an old
Oh.
game, so that's why I knew you were talking about the Knights of
It-
the Old Republic.
Well, no, the Old Republic technically came out in 2011.
Yes, but it's still active, is what I meant by not an old
Okay.
game. There's still, the servers and everything are still up. There's people still play it constantly. Not saying that
Yeah.
people don't still play KOTOR and all that, but yeah, like those were just standalone games, not also single player and all that kind of stuff. Completely different type of game, different genre and everything. I mean, the only thing they have in common is they're both RPGs, but one's an MMORPG, the other's a single player turn-based thing where I'm pretty sure Old Republic is more not
Old
turn-based.
Republic is more fluid.
Yeah, I forget the term off the top of my head. The Western RPG, I guess they call them, versus the turn-based.
Okay, so
Kind of.
out of the games we've all played for Star Wars, which has the best air-to-air combat, do you think?
Air to air.
Air-to-air slash space-to-space.
Just
Basically,
ship combat.
what's your favorite Star Wars dogfighter?
I mean, it's got to be the Woke Squadron series because that.
No, it isn't.
I mean, there's other games that have like little side missions that include it. But
There's two other games out there. I've sadly not had a chance to play them, but they are there. And it's just, I think one is called Jedi Starfighter, and the other is just Starfighter.
Oh
One
yeah,
features the N1
yeah. I remember
Naboo Starfighter, and the other's the
the Jedi
Obi-Wan
Starfighter.
Kenobi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
technically, yeah. Even though they're not part of the World Squadron series, technically, and just in my head, I file them all as the same. But yeah, I used to have Jedi Starfighter. I thought it was, but I don't see it on my game list right now. Maybe it's on my PlayStation and on my Xbox that I had it. So
Maybe.
I have
I
played it.
actually have never played any of these games. Have seen gameplay of I think Rogue Squadron because that's everyone's like personal favorite.
Like yeah,
what
like
I've been
like
hearing.
there's the reason it's the one that had so much success and everything. Like it's it. Like there's the new game they came out with a couple years ago, just called Squadrons, and it's like
Oh god, that
Yeah.
was terrible.
it was meh. Yeah,
That
it was
game-
meh. I did not like it. Like it's clearly
fell
meant to
off.
be a VR game.
Yeah, and you know what's sad is like it really could have been cool because I think they could have expanded upon it. But it's just it really is just the game mode in Battlefront 2 kind of in its own standalone game. That's
Mhm.
really all it is.
And then it was only like $40, and they opened and said, "We do not plan on doing any DLC for it. What you get is what you get." And it's like, no, like you're in this day and age, we expect a better live service and a lot bigger maps, a lot more game modes, a lot more just everything.
Well, I didn't mind that too much, especially considering it released, you said like what, $40 instead of the 60, 70,
Yep.
$80 that most games are
Yeah.
nowadays that also come with, you have to purchase additional downloadable content stuff. So like for a $40 game, it wasn't bad. Like I actually got it gifted to me in a bundle with the Battlefront 2, I think. So like
Yeah, that sounds right.
for me, it wasn't bad at all because it was entirely free. So like the gameplay itself and the mechanics of it, I did not enjoy enough. Like I haven't even played it all the way through. I've played
No.
the first few missions and I'm like, this is boring. It's clearly meant to focus more on online competitive play, which is not my favorite thing to do either.
And then the servers died out real quick
Yeah, well, because nobody was playing it.
You know what's
because it
weird?
just wasn't that great of a game.
Yeah.
I heard a lot of people when it first came out said they actually liked it, but then I heard like the drop off from it after like only like a couple months, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I'll say like it wasn't a bad game, but it wasn't good enough to keep you interested to keep playing it, especially if they weren't going to be
Yeah.
doing DLC and
And that's the
additional
thing.
stuff.
And that's the thing with like a lot of just modern games in general, especially multiplayer focused ones, is that they feel a little shallow, you know, in terms of
No,
gameplay.
they're extremely shallow.
Yeah.
Right? It's like the saying, your lake can be miles wide, but if it's only an inch deep, it's not that fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like just
I'll
because
say
you
this.
have a big game like Call of Duty, but like it's so shallow and boring and repetitive, I don't understand how people sit there and play it for days and days and days on end.
I'll say this much. I'd love for the original people behind Rogue Squadron to make a new Rogue Squadron and have it be like the original.
Yeah, or even just remaster and whatever some of the older ones.
I mean, remember the old ones, sure. Keep them. Just give us the classic gameplay again. Like those games were great. Like I had the original Rogue Squadron, and then I guess it was number 3, Rebel Strike, and there's some incredible missions in Rebel Strike. Like Rogue Squadron itself was really good, set up the foundation. I have fond memories of playing it, but that was before I really got into online play. Same with Rebel Strike, even. That was before I got into online play. And so I'd love to be able to take those games and do them online for competitive play.
For me, in my opinion, the best Star Wars games are all single player.
I
Yeah.
kind of agree with that. Yeah.
Like it's
Battlefront 1 and 2, the original.
they're fun and I enjoy them and I like them more than the newer Battlefronts games. But if it came down to it, I'm gonna play something like Force Unleashed or KOTOR or something over the Battlefront games even. But like again,
It's fair.
for me, that's my personal opinion. I'm not saying this is law, fact, everyone should agree with me. This is my personal opinion on things. I just always prefer single player games. Like, or if it's not
Yeah,
single player, I prefer a co-op multiplayer versus a everyone's out trying to kill each other multiplayer kind of a thing.
Yeah, I agree. Because the thing about the Star Wars games specifically is that they have really good story to work with. And I
Mhm.
feel like with a multiplayer game, you're kind of. I think the Battlefront games did a really good job, like replicating the certain battles in the movies or in the lore or whatnot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Really cool. But I think there's only so much you can do in a multiplayer game, and I think
Right.
that's why Squadrons was kind of like because it just kind of wasn't. It wasn't like the story focused Star Wars games really work well with the world and the universe it's Star Wars is. I feel like the multiplayer games don't work as well, just in my opinion. That's why I think.
How about co-op games?
Oh, I mean, co-op games. If they're story focused, yeah, I think they're great.
If
Is there
they're
any
done
Star
right.
Wars co-op games?
Yeah.
Is there what?
Like
Any
technically,
Star Wars co-op games?
I mean, you could consider
Lego?
yeah, the Lego Star Wars games I was gonna say, and the old Battlefront games you could play co-op and not just play against
Yep.
AI, which is kind of fun. But like, I understand also other people are like, oh, you're just playing AI, it's not that hard. I get that whole argument of like, yeah, it's easy to beat a computer versus beating an actual human on the other side. But I don't
No,
play
that'd
games
be
just
an
to be the
interesting
best
idea.
at them. I play games to have fun. So for me, it's more fun to be
No, that's an
playing.
interesting idea. Co-op with online competition as well.
Eh,
So like split screen Battlefront with online players as well.
So Fortnite battle royale games. That's kind of what it
But
is.
Battlefront.
You have your little 4-man teams, and then you try to go and be the last team surviving in those battle
And
royale
with the
type games.
co-op abilities.
Is there any like Star Wars games that really focused on like RTS style gameplay?
I want to say there were some kind of RTS Star Wars games.
Like I mentioned,
Um,
Lego Star Wars 3
I think
a
they might
little
have
bit of
been
that.
more focused on PC only games
Uh,
that were like that, but I swear I want to say there was at least one that was a Star Wars RTS type game where you would
I feel like something like that would be really cool,
that
multiplayer or something.
that would play like Command and Conquer or those old Warcraft games, not World of Warcraft.
Star Wars Empire at War.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay.
It was like I know I'm trying to think of it. I'm like I know there was at least one.
That would be a fun game if they redid it. Or that style of game.
For me
Yeah, 'cause
personally, I am not a fan of those type of RTS games on console. For me, you have to play them on a PC. They're just the controls
fair
are
enough.
so much
Fair.
like they're just complicated when they try to convert them to console, especially when it's a game
I feel like
clearly
the-
designed for PC.
Like the only RTS like the Halo Wars games.
Like, Empire at War, I never played it, but it always fascinated me.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine the two
Um,
genres work really well, RTS and then Star Wars.
Oh yeah, like I'd love to see them do a new one and have it so that you could play through all the different battles of the Clone Wars from both sides, the CIS and the Republic,
Oh, why stop
And
at just
see
the
what-
Clone Wars?
and see what outcomes you could come up with.
Why stop at the Clone
Like-
Wars though? Include all the battles.
Well, Clone Wars would be the first part, and then I'd say the Empire versus the Alliance.
And then
But again, start out with Clone Wars because that is the era that so many people really want games for. It seems like.
nowadays, yeah,
like,
people are
because
much
we
more
didn't get
appreciative
so
of the
many.
people are much more appreciative of the prequels nowadays than they used to be.
Like, look at Star Wars Battlefront 2, the 2017 game. That was the era that everyone really wanted, and they're finally giving it to us when they ended production on it, like post-production, which really, really sucks. Just saying. EA dies, like, that was such a bad move.
Yeah, well, we could spend hours talking about the bad moves EA has made.
Since we were talking about like genres of games for Star Wars, you ever heard of Star Wars Masters of Teras Kasai?
I used to play that game all the time.
I'm sorry,
I
what
saw-
game?
Masters of
It's a
Teras
Star
Kasi
Wars-
or Kasai, however it's pronounced. It's a Star Wars
I
fighting
think
game.
Yeah, so I saw this game because it was on a Angry Video Game Nerd episode, and this game looks hilarious. This game looks really just.
What?
I heard people say it's bad and whatnot, but it just looks funny.
Oh,
just
it,
looks really
it,
funny.
it is bad, but it was also fun too.
It was fun bad, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, it was just like let's throw Street Fighter and Star Wars together.
Oh my god.
Like obviously the graphics were not Street Fighter type of, but like it was that kind of a fighting game, and yeah, it was fun.
You know
I
how,
had
like-
I had all the characters unlocked. I would always beat the crap out of anyone with Darth Vader. He was my boy. Him and Han Solo. Han Solo was awesome too because whenever I would play with him against my brother, I would just pull out his little pistol whip attack and piss my brother off
I
because
want
it's
them
an
to bring this
instant
game back.
knockdown.
This game would be fun to bring back just for the laughs.
It would be fun. I would totally play. Like, yeah, I had it on PlayStation, I believe, the PS1.
Yeah, I think it's a PlayStation exclusive, like PS1.
Yeah, I
Yep.
believe that's what I played it
Yep.
on.
Came out October 31st, 1997 for the PlayStation.
Yeah,
I want to look up the roster. I want to see what they had.
there was Luke, Leia,
Oh.
Han, Thok, who I believe was a Gamorrean, or he
Is
was
that the
the
pig-
Tomb Raider. Yes, the
pig
Gamorreans are
guys?
the pig people. There was a Sand Raider guy. There was Boba Fett.
Yeah,
a
I'm looking
character
at it
made
right now.
specifically for the game. I don't remember her name, but she had like this.
Arden Lynn.
Arden Lynn, yes, she had like this weird robot arm thing,
Yeah, she was weird. I don't even.
and then
She's so weird.
some of the unlockable characters were Darth Vader, Mara
Princess
Jade,
Leia in a
Princess-
metal bikini.
Princess Leia in the slave outfit. I'm not saying I unlocked that one first, and yeah, there was definitely certain fun camera angles you could do with that. Hey, I was like 12 at the time, so it's okay.
I mean,
There was
that
Jango
outfit
Fett you
in
could unlock.
general.
I mean, what Star Wars fan doesn't dream about that outfit? Come on.
What
What male, straight male Star Wars fan does not dream about that outfit at some point?
Oh my gosh. My favorite part is that you can just play as a stormtrooper in this game.
Yeah, the Stormtrooper dude. Yeah, I remember him. He kind of
versus
sucked
Darth
though.
Vader.
Yeah, that's going to be a quick match. Dead in 30 seconds.
Hey, now,
if
man,
that.
you got to be able to beat Darth Vader with a Stormtrooper.
Yeah,
Only in first.
sure.
Hey, I've done it. Able to beat that game with every character. You just got to get good, scrub. Of course, that saying wasn't even around back then.
Yeah, I feel like Teras Kasai is probably one of the worst Star Wars games, most likely.
Very niche game. People who like it like it. Most people will probably hate it though.
Yeah, I wonder how the
I
fighting
mean,
mechanics are. I used to play a lot of fighting games growing up, and like I actually got into fighting games competitively. So I'm curious to see if the fighting mechanics are good or if they're really bad.
Uh,
So,
from what I remember, they were decent.
I mean, who would like to see them remake it?
Probably not many
maybe not
people.
remake it.
But if they
Probably
did
not remake it.
a remaster or something of it, I would totally
Like a
play it.
re-release.
Or even a re-release. Yeah, like if they made a available version to download on the PlayStation, I would totally get it at some point.
Yeah, like on modern consoles would be neat.
Yeah, like I don't have my PS1 anymore.
Or on PC?
does. My brother does have
Yeah.
a PS2 though, so maybe. He does. Oh, that's a game. I'm gonna tell him to buy it. He's been on a retro game kick as of late, and he's buying all kinds of retro games. So I'll tell him to get that one because I believe.
Okay, Okay,
Yeah.
going back to the whole co-op idea from earlier, did either of you play Star Wars Clone Wars, the game?
I never played that.
I don't remember playing that one. I probably did at some point, but I can't say for certain.
I can say I've played it on both GameCube and the Xbox, and damn,
Damn.
that game was good.
I'm gonna look
Like,
it up.
too bad the story of it doesn't fit into the newer Clone Wars canon, but it's still, if you could find a way to fit it in, that would be really cool. Because it literally opens with the Battle of Geonosis.
Looks very interesting.
It was really good controls, really good combat, and the PvP for it, / co-op split screen for it was really fun.
Really
Like they had, what was it, capture the flag type games or a base control game mode. I forget now what it was, but yeah, it was really, really cool.
All right, I have another great Star Wars related game to talk about. Actually, I have two. I'll bring them up both together because it's more like Star Wars crossing over with other franchises. Okay, we got
Okay.
Soul Calibur 4. You remember this?
Yep.
Darth
Yep,
Vader
I know
and Yoda.
The Yoda
And
character
then,
on the Xbox.
Didn't they
version.
have Starkiller?
Yeah, I believe he was. I don't remember which version or if he was like unlockable. I don't remember, but yeah, he was in there as well.
Yeah,
And then
Okay.
the other game. Now this is gonna probably make you guys laugh, but you remember Angry Birds Star Wars,
Yes.
aka the
Yeah.
best Angry Birds game?
I never played that version of it, but I heard it was great.
I'm gonna be straight up. Like the Angry Birds Star Wars games, I think there's only one actually, but that game was really good. Like actually a very good, simple Angry Birds game, but it was really cool. Yeah, played as a kid. So.
Apparently it looks like there may have been two.
doesn't surprise me that they
Oh,
would put
okay.
out a sequel.
Yeah,
quote-unquote
there's
sequel.
1 and 2. The old Angry Birds games were funny. I remember
They
when
were.
that game was first popular and everyone was playing them.
Not I, said the
Yeah.
pig.
They had a
Does
lot of
anyone
Oh,
actually still play them?
No, but they are remembered by many, and also they had so many weird crossovers.
like, I never
You
really
might be
got
talking-
into the Angry Birds, so like I'm not that care
I
about
think he's
them.
talking about the sequel. 'Cause the
I don't know.
sequel came out not too long ago. Or actually, no, never mind. This came out a long time ago. I've been
Oh, yeah.
seeing it around.
I don't
But
know.
anyways, yeah.
Yeah, the Soul Calibur crossover, that was wild when that first was announced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was actually my first introduction. Like, you're gonna laugh, but that was my first introduction to Star Wars because I never heard of Star Wars growing up until like around I was like 8 or maybe like 10. I don't remember. Like, it was so long ago, but
He's
it was
so
around
little.
like actually it might have been when I was 7 years old, but I played Soul Calibur when I was like a little before that, and then I was super interested in Darth Vader because he was really cool, and then Yoda as well was really cool. I was like, wow, who are these characters? Are these from Soul Calibur? And of course, I found out they weren't. They're from Star Wars. So
Mhm.
I think overall that was a really weird crossover, but it was kind of cool to be honest.
Yeah, I do like how Soul Calibur does do those crossover things. Like I know they had a version where you could get Link on the Nintendo version and The
Oh,
Witcher
that's cool.
on the Xbox and some other character if you had the PlayStation version.
Yeah, they had a game called Broken Destiny, which had Kratos. That was a PSP game, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love for them to do like a whole Soul Calibur-esque game, but for Star Wars.
Masters of Teras
Yeah,
Kasai.
yeah, just massive.
Yeah.
Like
but
seriously.
like a new one.
They should just make it like lightsaber wielders. Like the blaster wielders is just kind of like really weird to incorporate in a fighting game, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Like they could
And
just
so you
maybe
have
they
like blaster enemies. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. Teras Kasai did work out decent enough. Like obviously, if it was a real fighting game and Luke or Vader's coming in with a lightsaber, they're just gonna cut whoever they're fighting in half.
exactly, yeah, one on one.
But like they did a decent job of balancing the game with the people who didn't have things like the Gamorrean dude had an axe was his weapon because that's the big old thing that they would carry around. And again, like if that's a real actual axe and he's chopping somebody with it, their head's gonna go flying off. But it's not a real violent game like that. It's not a Mortal Kombat bloody style game. But
Yeah.
and the
You said there's
whatchamacallit.
Han and Boba.
Han
They also had
obviously had
Leia.
his blaster. Leia had this weird wannabe lightsaber stick. Chewbacca had the bowcaster. Yeah. Boba had his
And
blaster and his whole
then that new
rocket pack and
character-
everything.
yeah, the new character had this weird Teras Kasai is like the fighting style she uses. That's what it's called. And
Yeah.
it's like involves the giant steel fish she has. It was super weird.
Yeah, which
It's
could
really-
also, like, if I remember correctly, shoot some type of something out every once in a while if you did the right combo buttons and everything. Or I could be making stuff up and just misremembering wrongly.
I'm not
That
sure.
could be as well.
It could be. It's been
That
over
happens a lot when you
20
remember games.
years since I played that game. So, but yeah, that
The old
game I loved, but also there were times that it invoked rage in me. Like I don't do the gamer rage anymore, but like I remember one time that was one of the few games that I got angry at, and I opened the PlayStation and threw the game across the room.
Wow.
Luckily, I did not break the game, but I was still able to play it
That's for
afterwards.
Teras
But
Kasai.
yeah, like that game
That's-
made me angry
That's amazing.
just because it cheats.
Wait a minute. Were you a bird?
Was I a bird? No.
Yeah.
No, I was not an angry bird.
birds.
I was not an angry
Oh,
bird. I was an angry child.
The old Star Wars games though were great. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
they'll
it's
always
like-
be remembered as great games.
Yeah.
It's like,
Like
yeah,
there's
I'm a fan of
there's
the
so
older
many of
games
them.
because they were also harder to beat.
They were.
Yeah, and I'm not saying like newer games are cakewalk, easy to beat all the time. No, that's obviously not what I'm meaning. It's just like games were harder back in the day. You didn't have unlimited
They were.
lives and unlimited continues. And I remember, I mean, this doesn't have to do with Star Wars, but I remember the other day I was flipping through my reels and there was one of these modern day streamers playing the old Super Nintendo Lion King game,
Oh my god.
which, if you've never played it, extremely hard game. But like they wound up dying on like they lost their third life or whatever, and they're like game over. The people are like, "What do you mean game over? I have to start all the way over from the beginning? What is this?"
Yeah. That's what it was like on the
Yeah.
Sega Genesis as well.
Yeah, like
Like I had the Lion King game on the Genesis.
save points were not a thing in games back in the day.
Not really, no. Like technically, yeah, save-ish points.
Some games like the Zelda franchise and stuff like that did have minimal saving that you could do, but like versus nowadays where
that-
so many games you can just pause whenever you want and just save right there.
I think today the best difficulty you could find in games are in like the Souls-like genre. 'Cause
Yeah.
they're actually like you can't make them easy or hard. They're like actually like that's their definitive difficulty. So
Yeah, and yet they don't have the difficulty levels and stuff like that.
I think they handle difficulty well, which is
Yeah, I've never actually played one. I've heard they're really good, and I keep meaning to. It's just like there's so many other things that I'm a fan of that I
Wait a
spend my
minute,
money on.
Have you played Fallen Order or
Yes,
Survivor yet?
yes. I
Okay,
have
then you
those.
played a Souls-like game.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean I haven't played the actual Dark Souls games, is what I meant.
I've
Oh,
I've actually beaten Bloodborne, which was one of the biggest achievements of my life.
Nice.
It was so crazy. That game, I gotta just say, like, the Souls-like games get a lot of flack for being really hard and just, like, unfair, but if you could beat one of them, it's the most rewarding feeling. Like, truly. Yeah. And, like,
Yeah. Oh yeah. That sense of accomplishment you get from beating a hard game
Oh yeah.
is so much more satisfying than beating an easy game. I totally agree with that.
yeah. Unless the easy game has, like, a really good story. Like,
Oh yeah,
those
like
kind of games.
there's definitely games I will play on, like I don't ever play on like the easy mode, but I won't jump it up to difficulty first, and I'm like I'm just here for the story kind of a thing. But I still
Sometimes-
want a little bit of a challenge. Like I don't want to be able to walk through the game and just experience the story. At that point,
Yeah.
I'm like I'm just gonna watch a movie instead.
Yeah. See, the thing is, like, with most games, I play on normal difficulty, but occasionally I'll like, if I want a little bit of a challenge, I bump it up up to hard, but I rarely bump it up to really hard or something unless like I feel like I can beat that
Yeah,
on the game.
like for me, on most of the games I play, first time playing through, I'll play on normal, and then if it's worth playing again, I'll bump up the difficulty to hard. And then if I still beat, go back and play it again. I usually when I jump up to the hardest difficulty.
I can't remember, but is Force Unleashed and Force Unleashed 2 were those hard games? I can't remember.
There were definitely missions that were harder than others.
Yeah, there were definitely hard parts to them. Like they weren't like
But overall,
easy
the
cake
core
walk
gameplay was
things.
easy.
Yeah,
Okay.
The core gameplay was easy, but
It-
definitely certain missions were harder.
yeah. I'll say it was hard until you learned the mechanics and everything.
Gotcha.
And got familiar
But
with the
even
controls and
then-
stuff. Even then, yeah, there were certain missions that were like definitely harder than others.
And when you're first playing it and you're learning what opponents do what and trying to figure out how to beat them.
Yeah, like that's what I mean by part of the mechanics. You know, you got to learn how to counter certain enemies and all that kind of stuff. But that's true for a lot of games.
Yeah, a lot of it was all about timing, being able to analyze, okay, these guys do this move at this time, here's when they're at showing their weakest point, here's how to force them into that point, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, those games were really good. And the stories were brilliant.
Yeah, the Star Wars games have great stories. Like even the modern ones, I feel like have pretty good stories. Like
50-50.
I don't know. I gotta still like play Fallen Order. Like I've been meaning to get to it, but I've heard good things mostly.
The stories for Fallen Order and Survivor are phenomenal.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've beaten Fallen Order and I am playing sort of, kind of not actively, but I do have Survivor right now. Played it a little bit, but I need to go back and play it some more. But yeah, it's a good story as long as you like ponchos.
The one newer story that I absolutely don't like is the campaign mode for Battlefront 2
Oh yeah,
2017.
that one I wish. So
That's not even in
honestly,
the
That
game
was-
anymore, bro.
That was clickbait.
I feel like Iden Versio, which is the main protagonist of that
Yep.
story, should have stayed on the dark side because it would have been interesting to play on the dark side, as a stormtrooper.
Spoilers.
I mean-
I didn't even play it enough to do that. I'm like, yeah, this is boring.
I mean, I don't mind that she switched sides, but so
only do.
quickly.
I only do because I feel like I don't know. It felt like she was just doing what Finn already did in the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, that's
So just-
basically
Yeah.
where they stole the whole thing from.
It just felt
Well,
like a
kind
copy
of.
paste.
That's what I said. Basically,
Kind of.
kind of. They're like, hey, this was really popular in the movies. Let's do it again in a game. But
And then-
they
and then
added
you
their
have,
own
like-
story to it, obviously. But
And you know what's weird is in the multiplayer, she's a part of the dark side. So it's just
Yeah.
so weird.
dark side, come to the dark
that
side.
whole story,
We have cookies.
I love the way they promoted it, and I was expecting an Imperial story, and was like, what the hell? Like, you have her switch sides like half an hour, maybe an hour into the story?
Yeah,
Like-
I haven't beaten it, but I played a bit of it when I was younger, and I don't like it.
That story, like, it had potential, but the cop out early on with switching sides so quickly, nah, I'm sorry, but that was just dumb.
I will say, I think they translated the Battlefront gameplay well in the story, though. Like everything outside of the story was pretty good. I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I will say this: dogfighting in that game was terrible. The controls were garbage. That game was just, the story was so bad. The promotion for it so bad. The air-to-air combat or dogfighting in it so bad. Why couldn't we have the guys, who was it, Bandai Namco, who do Ace Combat? Why couldn't we have those guys do the air-to-air combat? Or bring back the people who did Rogue Squadron. Stormy, you agree with me at least on space combat in that game not being very good, right?
And Battlefront 2, right?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so my opinion on it, it's weird because I like the feeling of playing it personally. Like I went back to Battlefront 2 recently and I was playing it and I tried the space combat. And the space combat can feel fun at moments, but the control thing, I agree with you that the controls for the space combat are really weird. I got used to them, but it's just like counterintuitive sometimes. And also the locking on is so just strange because some ships don't do it. Like it's so weird. Also, the rocket. Okay, so this is a personal thing. I have never heard this complaint, but when you try to lock on with rocket, it literally doesn't work sometimes, and it's so frustrating because when I was playing it recently, I was playing the space combat, and I'm like playing right, trying to lock on with the rocket, and then sometimes when they're just slightly away from your cursor, it'll stop locking on. But then sometimes it won't. So it feels really inconsistent in
Weird.
that regard. So I don't know. My opinion on it is slightly different from yours. I don't think it's horrible, but I don't think it's like it could have been better, definitely. And also the maps for the space combat are just it's just free skinned. It's just different backgrounds. And I
Yeah.
feel like they could have done better with that. Like they could have made like an asteroid field. Some of them are pretty good, like the space station that's all like torn apart. I forgot what that one's called. But that map is probably the best one because it has a really unique environment in space. All of them are just kind of samey, you know? I
Yeah.
don't know. I feel like it's not horrible in my opinion. I enjoyed it, but I do feel like it could have been better. But like I said, you know, everyone has their own opinion on it. So, but I think it could have been better.
Yeah, there's so much they could have done with it to make it better. Like, even going back and playing the original Battlefront 2 Space Combat feels better.
Yeah, I gotta check games out one. At least the Rogue Squadron. That's the one, right?
Rogue Squadron, if you can play that somehow, play it. Battlefront 2 2000, what was it, 2006? The original Battlefront 2, that space combat was pretty decent. The maps
2005.
were repaired 2005? Okay. Wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It was 2004 and then 2005. That's right, because Revenge of the Sith also came out right around that time, because Battlefront 2 had a bunch of Revenge of the Sith maps. But again, all the backgrounds were the same, basically, cut and paste.
There was no-
But
like I said,
the flight in it was good.
I was saying like the flight itself, yeah, was good, but there was just some weird like sometimes like I would do something and it wouldn't do it, like the missile thing about because it just I don't know what it was, but it was like it felt like whenever I was trying to like aim at like an enemy ship, it would just not work sometimes, you know?
Wait, are we
I don't.
talking the original Battlefront 2 or the new one?
Oh, I'm talking about the new one. You're talking about the
I'm
original.
talking the original, yeah.
Oh, okay. See that? Why did they call the new ones Battlefront 2? It's like
I hate that they have the
Rebranding
same
it,
name.
starting from scratch.
it's so confusing.
I
See,
I
thought you
I
were
hate
talking about.
when anything does that. Like there's something else, a movie series that is doing that recently, and I just don't call it something else.
Yeah.
I think sometimes I think Doom did all right with it because they didn't go Doom 2. They went Doom and then Doom Eternal. I think that's fine.
Yeah, like
But,
adding something else to the title, just so you know it's the different.
yeah, but yeah,
Okay,
Star
when
Wars
referring to
Battlefront,
the... How about this? When referring to the new Battlefront 2,
Inferno Squad.
that was Iden Versio's squad name.
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I was thinking of just calling it New Battlefront 2.
Just
I
call
call it Battlefront 2 2017 because that's the year it came out.
call it
Fair enough.
Star Wars Battlefront 2 EA, because that's why it sucks. It was made by
Ooh.
EA, whereas the originals were made by
How about-
Pandemic Studios and LucasArts.
How about you just call it EA2 and EA1?
Just call it whatever you want, and we'll then, if we're
Call it.
confused, we will, like we just did, clarify which one we're actually talking about.
I dislike that we have to have this talk. Like, just call it. Like, there's so many titles you can choose. Just how about like Star Wars? I don't know. Like, you could come up with something else. EA. Like,
Yeah. It's like I get
Well,
that
they were
they
trying to...
they wanted to capitalize on the Battlefront name. So like I
Yeah,
understand
Why
that.
not call it? And why not call it like Star Wars Battlefront something?
Yeah,
You know what I
like
mean?
at the very
Like Doom did.
or just if you want to capitalize off the Battlefront thing, just call it Battlefront 3, Battlefront 4. Nobody would care. I
That's
mean,
true,
there may
but
have been legal
people
reasons.
would.
I was gonna say there may have been legal reasons too, like since Pandemic and LucasArts made the old ones, Pandemic may still own the rights, even though Pandemic's pretty much defunct. Cause didn't EA buy them out anyway? So like I don't know.
Yeah, the OG Star Wars Battlefront still. You're talking
They're
about
good.
the flight controls, right? You were saying.
Yeah,
So I didn't
those
actually
were
know.
really good.
I didn't know they had flight combat in that game. So.
Oh yeah. Even on the OG Battlefront 1, you had flight controls. Because you could... One of the famous maps on that game was... It was called Best Spin Platforms. And you're basically flying around... Well, you could fly around or you could traverse on the facility. It was one of the gas mining
like best spin
platforms.
type
You
of.
see what I mean? Like, this is such a cool map, and the new Star Wars Battlefront 2, the EA one, did not have any cool like space maps like this or like
No,
flight map,
no.
and
Um,
that's just
no. Sort of Naboo.
I don't know.
I don't know. I never played
Like
it, so.
the Theed map could have been better if the flight controls were better. Just
I'm
saying.
looking at it. I'm looking at it.
Like I feel like there's so many missed opportunities.
Oh yeah,
But
Naboo, but the Naboo one was both. It was both on the ground and in space. Like I'm talking about exclusively, like not in
okay.
space, on the air. Yeah. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah, I think the majority of the best Star Wars games were made by LucasArts.
I would agree.
And Lego.
I'll give you Lego too, but like for me, like yeah, like it was all about the LucasArts made a lot of great games back
Well,
in the day, and then they sold everything because that's what George Lucas decides to do. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying there haven't been good games since, because obviously, like I said, I liked the Jedi Survivor, and I'm enjoying Jedi Survivor and liked Fallen Order, whatever. I mix them up all the time,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Well,
I mean,
actually,
okay, so here's a question. Out of the old school games, pick three if remade by the original studios. Which three would you like to see remade today?
all right,
Force
David, you go
Unleashed.
first.
Force Unleashed, KOTOR. Now both of those had two versions, so or one and two. So I'm gonna include. I would like both of them remade.
Okay.
KOTOR 1 and 2 and Force Unleashed 1 and 2. And for a third one, I don't know. He's got me thinking about Teras Kasai lately, but I probably
Yeah.
really wouldn't like that game anymore. But it would be cool to see a remake done of it, but like it wouldn't be very popular. But maybe the Revenge of the Sith one, because that was a really good game too. It would be cool to see that given the modern update
With better camera controls?
with better, yeah, a modern update with better controls, better. A remake is not the same as a remaster where they just update the
I know.
graphics.
I know.
For me, I think the three I would want remastered would be. I'm gonna count Force Unleashed 1 and 2 as one. I would like to see
Yep.
those
Yes,
be remade.
that's
Those games are, I think, arguably they're some of the best Star Wars games, right?
Oh yeah.
So
they're definitely on the
I think-
list. Yeah,
yeah, and then I think also Teras Kasai, just because it would be funny to see that be remade. Maybe actually remade and become good, become like a competitive fighting game would be kind of funny. So I don't know.
but I would totally play it again if they did a re-release
Yeah,
and
and this
remake.
one might be weird, but well, not weird, but like I would like to see the original Battlefront games be remade because I think their gameplay, I don't know, it's definitely not possible, but it could be interesting, I guess. I don't know. I after seeing like the recent like YouTube shorts I've been getting and whatnot, it looks really like cool and just fun and chaotic, which is my type of like multiplayer shooter is when it's chaotic and just values fun more than competition.
Right.
Okay.
So those are my three.
This first one should be no surprise. The original Episode 1 Racer game, so the Pod Racer.
I'm playing it right now.
Okay.
Rogue Squadron, all three of them, counting them as one. And for my third, probably the Jedi Knight series.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Uh,
Jedi Knight would also be on my list of ones I would like to see remade and given some updated controls and
Yeah.
stuff, graphics.
Even though I've only played Jedi Knight Jedi Academy, I know enough about the rest to know, hey, great series. And the story in Jedi Knight Jedi Academy. I know we did stories last week, but holy crap, that one was really good.
I
So
don't
what
see-
other Star Wars game hot takes do you guys have?
I think you should be able to choose between the light and dark side in all Star Wars games.
How about this?
Uh-oh.
What
I
Star
blew up.
Wars, not what Star Wars game would you like to see remade, but rather what Star Wars game would you like to see them use as inspiration for a new game?
I mean,
Teras Kasai. Yeah, as of today's conversation, definitely Teras Kasai. It would be cool to see a decent
Actually,
Star Wars fighting
I
game.
think you're saying for a new one, right? Like,
Yeah, like a completely new story, new characters, but inspired by.
I think yeah, Teras Kasai. Because here's
Yeah,
the
like
thing.
if they could make
I
a
think
good Star Wars fighting game, it would be cool. Oh, I was just saying a good Star Wars fighting game would be cool, and then I
Yeah.
stopped talking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Teras Kasai, even though it's like probably like a lot of people say it's not a great game, but I think the building blocks are there for something pretty interesting and unique, especially for Star Wars. You know, I think if you like made the roster full of like lightsaber wielders, and maybe like we were talking about, like in vein of like Soul Calibur, you know what I mean? What they did with like
Hmm.
Darth Vader and Yoda, it would be really cool to see. So yeah, I'm actually gonna say Teras Kasai, like legit. Yeah, would be cool to see something in vein of that.
Okay, so I brought this up on the story episode last week again, and I think the relevance today would be really great, and I know there's others in the community who agree with this. A Mandalorian game, loosely based on the classic game Bounty Hunter.
Yeah,
I think that would be pretty cool.
could be fun, depending on how it's done.
Like, I could totally see that as being a great single-player story, action-adventure RPG.
I think that would actually be pretty neat.
And speaking of that, what do you two think of the upcoming Ubisoft game Outlaws?
I have only one thing to say about Outlaws, okay? I'm not gonna play it.
Why?
Because, well, they made a little game called Avatar Frontiers of Pandora.
I want to play that still.
And in my opinion, it's just most Ubisoft games I'm not really interested in anymore because they all look very similar in gameplay. You go around getting outposts and whatnot. Outlaws looks actually pretty interesting, but I have no interest in actually playing it. Maybe watching online, but not actually playing it.
Hey David, what about you?
I honestly don't know enough about it yet to say whether I want to play it or not. I know that it's been in the works, but I don't know enough about story, gameplay, or anything. I haven't been following it very
Okay.
closely, so like it's not something I've been paying attention to really, so I don't have an opinion on it.
I like that
Okay.
I like the only thing I like about it so far, like really like, is that they're focusing on a brand new character because like that's why I like the Fallen Order and Survivor. The what's his name? The main character's name?
Cal Kestis.
Cal
Yeah,
Kestis,
Cal
yeah.
Kestis, very cool character. I've heard a lot of people like him. Like he's a new fan favorite for many.
Oh yeah.
So I think doing new characters in Star Wars is very good. Like, let the old characters rest, or if you want to do old stories involving them, you can. But I think making new characters is healthy for the world of Star Wars, you know, for a new generation. So yeah, I think that it depends on how they do it. Her in Outlaws, I need to look up what her name is.
The,
I think they.
the thing with old characters, if you're going to put them in the games, you have to treat them with the respect that they deserve, which
Yeah,
certain studios don't do.
yeah.
And
Oh,
I
so
don't
her
just
name
mean
is
video game studios, I might be talking about movie studios as well.
her name is Kay Vess. That's what I'm finding. So.
Yeah.
I know all about making up Star Wars names.
And here's the thing. Here's the cool thing. I'm looking at promotional material, and the only cool thing I'm seeing is that there's another character who is one of the separatist droids from the prequel trilogy, like one of the commandos.
Right.
So this is something I've thought about. It's like after the prequel trilogy, the droids kind of just disappear, and I would love for them to explore the droids a bit more. I don't know. So if they do that, maybe I'll be a little more interested in Outlaws.
Okay.
Some of them,
Next.
the old, the battle droid and stuff, they do make an appearance in the Jedi, at least Survivor. I don't remember if they were in Fallen Order, but there are
Oh
some.
yeah, I've seen that. Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they do
okay.
make an appearance, so like they do show a little bit of like, hey, just these ragtag, not bounty hunters, but just like criminal organizations have come in and taken over and started using them and stuff. So like it's kind of cool how they do that.
Because I think the droids could still be interesting to see in the Star Wars universe because they're funny, they're lighthearted, but they also can be pretty intimidating, like Grievous and like even the Commandos and whatnot, and especially in Clone Wars. So I think it's cool that they're making one of them. Like I don't think it's a main character. I'm not sure. It's on all the promotional material I'm seeing, so maybe like a
Oh yeah.
side character.
Yeah, probably one of
A
the main
side
side.
character for sure.
Yeah.
Very excited to see what they do with that.
Real big hot take. How about Star Wars Eclipse? Is it going to actually become a game, or is that project going to get scrapped? And if it
No
does
idea.
become a full game, are they overhyping it like everyone did Cyberpunk? Or is it going to live up to expectations?
Nothing ever lives up to expectations.
So I'm looking up stuff, and it said it will not likely be released this year because of like rough development cycles and whatnot, and like it's just
Oh,
not
I'm
like
not even expecting Eclipse until like 2026 at the earliest,
so.
maybe 28.
What even is Eclipse? Is it like a Telltale game or
We
what?
don't know. We
Oh,
don't know anything. They released a beautiful, eerie cinematic trailer, what, 2 years ago? And it looks like all cinematic trailers these days look spectacular, but it's hard to tell what the scope of the game is. It's hard to
hold on.
tell.
See, here's the thing, okay? I'm like delving more into this rabbit hole of the company that's making it, and
Yeah.
they are the people behind Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, and Detroit Become Human, which Detroit is one of my favorite games of all time. So now that I know this, I'm actually really excited for Eclipse, and I think they'll do a great job because they really know how to make great stories. So I'm excited to see what they do with Star Wars. Like, actually, this is pretty
Yeah,
exciting.
now that the exclusive rights to Star Wars for EA's come to an end, I'm looking even more forward to Star Wars games
Yeah,
today.
if you want my opinion on Eclipse, I think it'll be great. It definitely is going to be a Telltale style game, like a choice game that has branching paths. I'm very excited to see what they do with it because they make great games. Like I played Heavy Rain a bit, which I didn't like too much of. Beyond Two Souls was interesting, but Detroit Become Human, their most recent game, was absolutely amazing. Such a great story, and I think if they're making Eclipse, I think they'll do a good job.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of
So,
good things about Detroit Become Human. I haven't actually
Oh, it's
played it
great.
myself, but I've heard so many people have told me it's a great game. So
It's it's phenomenal. It's such a great game. So I'm excited to see
so,
what they.
so, what era do you think this eclipse will take place in?
I'm not
Be-
sure from I'm looking at promotional material, so I'm not sure.
I'd love for them to do, since they're exploring this one era in the comics right now, I'd love to see a video game set in the High Republic era.
depends on how they do it.
You know,
Again, that would be a cool era to do it.
honestly, this is gonna sound really strange, but I would love for them to do a this game take place not in the sequel trilogy, but like way after, like way in the future of Star Wars. Like something that
Ooh.
is like in the far future after all of the wars and everything. Something like a brand new story that takes place after everything. That would be really interesting.
So a
Something for them
short time ago in a galaxy far, far
to. Hey, yes,
away.
a short time ago. Yes, I'm. I'm trying to think about the title of Eclipse. Like, why would it be called Eclipse? And then maybe the story. Okay, just a little deep dive into like maybe what the story could focus on is because an eclipse is an obscure like blocking out the light.
Okay.
So maybe Eclipse has something to do with maybe the dark side winning in some way, which we have seen a few times in like Star Wars, where like I think Empire Strikes Back is a good example because in that movie I see that as like the dark side. Like I see
It's
those
considered
the
by many
original
to
trilogy.
be one of the best Star Wars movies.
Yeah, I see the original three movies as like the first movie, the rebels are like winning. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And then they
Alright.
come back in the sequel, and the dark side's winning, and then the final struggle, the final battle is in Revenge of is it
Return.
the Return of the Jedi. I
Return
Return
always
of
of
the.
the.
get I always get the two titles confused because they sound
Don't
similar,
worry.
but
Don't worry. Well,
It
here's the
it was
fun fact.
originally supposed to be called Revenge of the Jedi. I even have a
Yep.
shirt with that
really,
original poster design on it that
Yep.
says Revenge of the Jedi.
Yep.
I was just wearing it yesterday.
I didn't
And
know that.
then last minute, basically, he changed the title.
He changed the title because, according to his lore, Jedi don't believe in revenge. That's why he changed it to Return of the Jedi.
I'm glad he did because I think Revenge of the Jedi just sounds a little out of touch with what Jedi's are.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly why he changed it. Plus, it sounds so much better that he decided to go Revenge of the Sith. I was like, that makes way more sense for
Yeah,
Episode 3. And in my opinion, that is one of the best Star Wars movies. Also, I love Revenge of
yeah.
the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith is my favorite. It's
Definitely hands down the best of the prequels, but like it's right up there for me with like it's one of the best. Like that's gonna cause some controversy. Star Wars fans are very particular about which ones they like and which ones they don't like. I don't know why we can't all just get along.
I have a hot take. I think people should just like whatever they want to like and stop bullying
What?
others for liking certain things.
What? That's like
I
And why
know.
almost
would you
like.
say something so radical?
Why would you say something so
I'm
rational?
sorry. This is gonna start a huge drama.
It is like
About to start
we're gonna get canceled now because of that.
Oh, this is gonna start a huge drama.
Yep.
David, we're already going to get cancelled after what we said last week.
I don't remember what I said last week. It
Slave
was-
One.
Oh yeah, Slave One. That's the real name of. I don't care what anybody says.
David.
What?
Final thoughts, final hot takes. Give it, just shoot rapid fire. What are your final thoughts, hot takes for this week?
I don't know why you always ask me for hot takes. I don't have hot takes. I like playing the dark side. They have cookies.
Hot takes on Star Wars games.
That's why I said I like playing the dark side. In games, I play
Okay.
the dark side. In games that let you choose, like Force Unleashed, KOTOR. I like following the dark side path. Also, reminding me, you guys were talking about Eclipse earlier. I'm like, when you guys first brought that up, my immediate thought was Juno Eclipse from the
Ooh. Yeah.
Force Unleashed games. I'm like, hey, that's Juno. It's about Juno.
I don't remember the stories. I gotta play those games again.
Yeah, she
Okay,
was just
then-
the pilot that was flying him around all the time, and they kind of wound up having some kind of relationship
see.
depending on which choices you made and stuff. But
Okay, Stormy, your final hot takes, your thought.
Well, okay, so I have only one thing to say, okay? I think a Rogue One game should happen because I think Rogue One was cool and I think a game on it would be really and then lastly, my final hot take is that I think I don't know how people are going to feel about this, but Lego Star Wars 3 is the best Lego Star Wars. That's my hot take.
hot.
And also
Hold up. You want a game dedicated to Rogue One. What would that look like?
I think you could really argue like how you like it, you know.
I could see
I'm not
following
sure.
like
How about like
how did they make a game about Star Wars Revenge of the Sith? How did they make one about the Clone Wars? Like you could follow the storyline of the movie
I think you
and
could
have
do that,
certain missions
or-
based around it.
Or maybe you can do a story about a different character during the Rogue One time. You know what I mean? Like during that battle, the battle. I forgot the planet, but you know what I'm talking about. Like during
Scarif.
that, yeah, on Scarif. And I think
Okay.
you could do something really interesting with that. And honestly, I was back to the RTS thing. I think you could make an RTS game that takes place during the Rogue One era, maybe.
Okay,
That's kind
RTS, I could say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna
So
say, the Saw Gerrera dude from Rogue One was in Jedi Fallen Order. Also, you do have
I did not
some
know that.
missions where you work with / for him and stuff. So it's kind of cool. Like, so like,
I didn't
it's not really like, hey, this is happening at the same time as Rogue One, but like, it's like there are some connections and references to it. So
I
it's
didn't
kind
know
of
that,
cool.
So yeah,
Well,
that's
Saw
that.
Gerrera has been around since the Clone Wars, so...
Yeah, like it. I believe the Fallen Order takes place before Rogue One and Star Wars episodes 4, 5, and 6 timeline
Yeah.
wise.
Oh, yeah,
so,
yeah, yeah.
So,
Oh
but
yeah,
yeah,
I looked up Saw Gerrera because I was like, he sounds familiar, but I didn't have an image in my head. But yeah, he was a
Forrest
very cool
Whitaker.
character. Anyways,
What
that's
do
all I really have to say about like.
what's your hot take, Tim?
My hot take?
We're all out of
EA
time. Thanks.
Star- Wow, okay.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
EA Star Wars games, by and large, with a couple minor exceptions, are terrible.
Ooh.
The classic Star Wars games reign supreme, and the original developers of the original games need to be making the games today.
That's not a hot take. That's common sense.
That's my hot take. And the reason why I say hot take is because, well, to us, it's common sense. For so many others who don't know the gloriousness of the original games, it's not a hot take for them.
Honestly, to me, it is a hot take because I like Battlefront 2 still, even with all its flaws. But I respect your opinion because we, as players, we deserve to have those fun experiences, especially with Star Wars because it's such a popular franchise. You know.
For
I
sure.
respect,
Oh, yeah.
I respect.
Like, don't get me wrong, Battlefront 2 2017, the Inferno Squad game, the maps were great, the combat was great, the class system was great, the heroes and villains were great. The game had a terrible launch. It had
Oh,
loot
yeah.
crates.
I think they should have named it something besides Battlefront. Like,
Yeah,
make it
they
its own
should have
thing
done
because with the Battlefront name, they're cashing in on the nostalgia that us older players have for the older
Yeah.
series
I
of
also
games.
I also think that it definitely had one of the worst launches in like gaming history, like one of. So
Yeah.
Cyberpunk.
mostly because of like the progression system. So
Oh
Mhm.
yeah. On top of that, it was just hitting its stride with being a great game when they ended post production on it, and now EA and DICE have basically dismissed the whole Battlefront series, and it's basically we aren't getting any more, and that is really disappointing. Like they were just hitting their stride with giving the players what they wanted. So yeah, that's my hot take. Have the original developers make the games again, and EA, then a couple select games like the Jedi series. You disappoint me.
Okay, I'm sure they're gonna shed so many tears that they'll wipe away with their millions of
yeah,
dollars.
this is a big loss for EA.
They're
Oh,
just like,
totally.
we lost Lunatim. I
With
mean,
that said and
yeah.
done,
I think it's about time to wrap things up.
so
Yep.
everyone watching, listening, like, subscribe, share, ring that bell, get your notifications on.
He always
Get your
forgets to tell
comments
people.
in the
Yeah,
comment section.
there you
We'll
go.
look at them. We'll respond. Give us ideas for future topics. Am I missing anything, David?
Let's thank our good friend Stormy for stopping by.
Yes, this was fun. This was
Yes, thanks for stopping by. I enjoyed our little chat today. It's nice to have someone else to talk with besides this crazy person all the time.
no problem.
And we'll catch you next week with another fascinating topic.
And get you next week, and we hope Stormy stops by another time. We enjoy having
Yeah.
him around.
Yeah, I'll come by again soon. Yeah.
All right. Have a good day, everyone.